Saturday, it's time to kick off the Experts Program, and Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, with us right now. Hello, Luis.
Hello, Mark. How are you today?
Doing pretty good. What do you got going on this weekend, last weekend of April?
Well, we are actually heading to Canada, Ronnie and I. We're going to do a little sightseeing. We're going to Vancouver and then taking the Canadian Mountaineer train from Vancouver to Calgary with a stop in a little town called Kamloops in between. So we're going to stop in Lake Louise, visit Banff, see all these places that we've read about but never have had a chance to look at. And I'm really excited about getting on that train. It's a day-long trip, 2 day-long trips between stops. So you get to see some of the real rugged, remote parts of Canada on that trip.
Wow, how neat. Coincidentally, a couple of friends of mine, they went on a cruise, which is ending up in that area. They flew to Miami, got on the boat there, went through the Panama Canal, saw everything, coming up the coast. And then they're in Victoria today, Thursday, that we're recording this. And then the boat heads back to, I think, Seattle, and that's where they live. So the ship will dock there on Saturday, and then they go home. So that's kind of, you're heading up that way and there right now. So
yeah, actually, Victoria is the only town in Canada I've ever visited. We took a ferry there once from Seattle when we were visiting Ronnie's family. It's a beautiful little town.
Oh, neat.
Very lovely on the coast. Yeah.
Well, hey, let's talk about some news from the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, and it's about safeguards rules, what your business needs to know. So what is the FTC involved in here with this? And this would be, I guess, safeguarding customer information that you have online?
Exactly. Yeah. So back in 2003, the FTC put together something called the Safeguards Rule, and it was intended to protect consumer information, in particular, consumer information from financial institutions. These are financial firms that are not covered by other regulated industries like the FDIC or the SEC. So they don't fall into that category. But the FTC said, we need to make sure that people's data is protected. So back in 2003, they created the Safeguards Rule. Well, after many, many years, 20 years later, they've decided, hey, it's time to update those rules. And so the new rules go into effect in June 9th in particular. And they require companies who fall into this definition of financial institutions to implement a number of cybersecurity protections for the data that they collect from their customers, including conducting an annual risk assessment, implementing controls so that you can know who's accessing the data and when they're accessing it, that you have good cyber hygiene, things like firewalls and endpoint protection and things like that, multi-factor authentication. So all of that's really good. But in addition to all of this common sense updating of the rules, they've expanded the definition of what is a financial institution to include a whole bunch of people that probably don't even know that they're now going to be subject to this new FTC rule that they have to comply with.
Okay, and that I'm looking at the story here. Its rule lists 13 examples of the kinds of entities. So that would include mortgage lenders, payday lenders, finance companies, mortgage brokers, account services, check cashers, wire transferers, collection agencies, credit counselors, and other financial advisors, tax prep firms, non-federally insured credit unions, and investment advisors that are not required to register with the SEC. I was particularly interested in that, with investment advisors, and they are covered by this as well. Wow. Mm-hmm. And then finders.
Finders is kind of a really broad term. It's basically if you are a company that brings together buyers and sellers for any products or services, then you are covered by this. So think of it as any sort of broker or any sort of distributor or things like that. So it's a really broad definition of financial institutions.
Right.
And we're reaching out to all of our clients who fall under these categories to let them know, hey, this rule now applies to you, and you need to get in compliance as soon as June of this year. And, we're helping them get through the initial risk assessment, which is, the most pressing need. That one you need to have done pretty quickly. And then you start to implement all of the requirements that come out of the risk assessment that determine what you need to do. But, even travel agencies that take funds from people, basically, if you're collecting money from anybody in a way that you hold that money. So this isn't like a retailer. If you're a 7-Eleven and you're just, taking cash and putting it in the till or using credit cards, you're not covered. But if part of your business is to collect information from people that includes financial information, then you're covered by the new FTC rules.
Okay, and there are some exemptions for certain provisions of the rule for financial businesses, like, say, a CPA.
Yeah.
Any business that maintains consumer information concerning fewer than 5,000 customers would be exempted from some of these provisions. So, because I could just see somebody like a CPA listening to us and just wondering, how am I going to comply with this? Well, there may be certain things you have to comply with, but you're not going to be under the same onus as, say, M.L. Stern, financial advisors.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, a lot of the provisions of the safeguard rules are really common sense things that any business should be doing to protect themselves and the data that they have. So it's not like they're asking you to go and become Fort Knox. They're asking you to just use some common sense things that you may not have implemented to this point. But if you need any help, we're happy to consult and give you some advice.
Right. And the rule defines customer information that you have to protect as meaning any record containing non-public personal information about a customer of a financial institution, whether in paper, electronic, or other form that's handled or maintained by or on behalf of you or your affiliates.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then they define what non-public personal information is in one of the sections of the rule. Now, if you go to ftc.gov, you will be able to find a link to this story. And I guess you could probably link to it on your Twitter feed.
We'll be sending out some tweets around it, and it'll be posted on our YouTube page and Facebook page by the beginning of next week.
Okay. And if you're on Twitter, just go to Alvarez TG and follow Alvarez TG at Twitter, and then you'll go ahead and get a link there as well.
Absolutely.
Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, has been our guest this Saturday morning, and he'll be back with us Monday, and we'll be talking technology again around 8:30 in the morning to start the day. Online, it's alvareztg.com, at AlvarezTG. That is the Twitter handle. And Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-TEAM. That's 866-784-8326.